Hey guys, Brett Tremblay back with another episode of Between Two Friends. And today I'm excited to dive into some pretty cool and unique concepts. So, my guest today is Krent Gregor. If I'm saying that correctly,
Gregoire. And then you did a great job. Thank you. It's a
all
little bit of
right.
French in there. It's a lot of French.
Kent, I'm really just thank you for joining us today. Let me just tell people why it's a big deal. You've started over 12 companies. You're an angel investor, which is always fun to talk about. You have this really cool concept I'm excited to get into called conscious capitalism. But you've also been a speaker in front of the United Nations. So I don't know how you ended up here with us, but we'll take it. You know, you're stepping down a level for us today. It's really an honor to have you.
Anything I can do to unleash the entrepreneurial spirit is a day extremely well invested.
So, what about that UN experience? What's that like speaking in front of the United Nations?
Whether it's the United Nations or another, it's the ability to connect with folks who are really interested, especially in dealing with topics around sustainability or how to move their business to a more conscious model. The audiences to me seem very similar. It's more about how I connect and engage, right? And that's the fun part. And you're already doing a great job getting us started. I feel at ease already. Thanks.
Well, thank you for that. Let's talk about conscious capitalism. I mean, tell us what does that mean? What is and you're certified in conscious capitalism, one of the few I think around the country. So tell us more about it.
Conscious capitalism is really a way to think about business in which we're going to operate to potentially have a bigger impact on addressing whether it be issues around climate change or challenges that we face in society. There's oftentimes kind of a misconception when we think of business not truly being able to do good and have that kind of impact. Yet every single business can, in fact, have an impact to do good in a much greater response than just solving a specific problem for a client or, let's say, consumers at large. And that's really where conscious capitalism comes in. It's when we blend the benefits of purpose, a higher purpose, solving a specific worthy problem. Let's say it's for society, and it could be a community. We can begin with workplace as an example. How are we creating caring and kind cultures in which employees grow and thrive? And through that, they're giving more to the company, and they're continuously creating new value for their customers. As that begins to happen, they become certainly better stewards of all that they're doing, contribute more to society. So I find it pretty extraordinary that the uplift can have a meaningful and a very significant impact without actually saying that somebody has to do more work. They actually don't. It's just how they're focused and are they working for a company that truly has a true north.
Let's maybe unwind some of that. You didn't say it was one thing. You gave some broad overview of different areas of conscious capitalism. So I guess breaking down each one of those, starting with the employees and the team, the
Sure.
strategic culture. How does that work?
Yeah, so we look at stakeholders at large. So one of the ways to think about conscious capitalism, where we've come from over the past several decades, is a lot of focus on profits, trying to move profits very efficiently to create higher earnings, and that particular game. And the other side is what's known as stakeholder capitalism. So our ability to engage stakeholders and our ability to create the opportunity so that we're working toward each other's purpose is where the magic comes in. So one of those stakeholders being employees. One of the tenets of conscious capitalism is a caring culture. And a caring culture is one of the ways I like to describe it is how the employee feels. The employee feels cared for. Now, unlike some who might say, well, if my employees aren't putting in 100% effort, do I really care for them? But if an employee actually feels cared for, irrelevant to what may be going on in their life at any given time, they're going to have a much stronger loyalty to the company. and they're much more willing to learn and expand their capacity to grow. So, a big part of the focus on employees in conscious capitalism is helping them grow in their life and thrive in their entire life in the workplace, outside of the workplace, to be better leaders in the community.
Team building and culture is one of my favorite things to talk about because it starts before you're even hiring or before you're looking to hire. Building core values in a company culture that attracts the right type of people. And that means the opposite is repelling the types of people that don't want to be part of your mission. So when you don't have a mission, you're going to waste your time and someone else's time trying to figure all that out as you go. Somebody say, you know what, I don't really like this company's overall mission. It's not for me. But when you're very clear, like you said, with a North Star, people can say, well, I know where that company's going and it really resonates with me. I want to get on that bus. But then you're hiring, so then you're attracting the right type of people, and then you're training under the certain system, and you're rewarding, incentivizing, and as you said, making an impact not only on your company culture, but on your individual team members' lives outside of the business. And all of those things come into play. And I definitely, there's a big movement, and I get like the movement's there, and I think a lot of people are on board with the movement. But that's something that we've done at my law firm, for example, for a long time. But there's no like program or certification or reward. So, and I know again, conscious capitalism, you mentioned a lot of big things, but is that just something, there's a movement, but there's really nothing like tangible to grab onto, or is there something where people can sign up for a program and have someone else say, here's where you guys could actually be better, let me give some feedback, and then here's like a rating system to say that this company, complies with X amount of number of conscious capitalism tenets?
It is correct. Conscious capitalism is a movement. It's over a decade old, and there are different ways in which we measure and score to understand the effectiveness. But unlike, for example, B Corp, there is not a specific certification, and that's actually by design. There are ways to continue to evolve, and there's ways to learn from others so that you can be extremely conscious as an organization. It's going to be both integrated and it's going to be very seamless. Many of the movements, however, may not actually be fully integrated within the entire business model. So let me give you an example. Higher purpose in some of the movements or work may be something that's highly mentioned, but it doesn't mean that it's operationalized. That would be an example. Or the essence of integrating stakeholders within as the most important voice, all stakeholders, and that we're not going to allow trade-offs. Trade-offs are an ethical consideration, and being in the field that you're in, you certainly know what I'm speaking about, and that we've accepted trade-offs because we believe that a win-lose, that it requires us to win and somebody else to lose. So in conscious capitalism, ethics are definitely at the forefront and are necessary. And the higher the level of ethics, it's amazing the level of trust that goes up, not just with your employees, but with all your stakeholders.
Sure. Sure. So what about mom and pop, businesses, online or otherwise? We've got, restaurant owners, entrepreneurs. How do people make a difference when they feel like, well, I don't have that much time and that much capital to make a huge difference? How does this work for the everyday folks?
Conscious capitalism actually doesn't take any extra money. It's actually how we choose to run our business. It's a conscious choice. And it doesn't require any money because we're actually not funding something in addition to. We may choose to do that if we do well and we've done everything else. We may choose to give money to other foundations, other places that will help our community, but it's how we choose to operate our business. Let me give you an example. I'll use a hypothetical. We're a manufacturing company and we're working towards, let's say, one of the UN SDGs, and we're doing a really great job. But as a manufacturing company, we're polluting. So therefore, if we're doing something really good on the right-hand side, but we're doing some other things on the left-hand side that are not so good, then we would say that our human balance sheet is out of balance. And that would be the difference in how you run a conscious company. You're ethically making the decisions to always do the right thing. In doing that, you begin to create a brand that's very, very attractive and very sticky to consumers or the marketplace in which you're selling, which also means that you're going to grow faster, your
Yeah.
marketing costs go down, you have incredible brand loyalty, and not forgetting the fact that more and more of the workforce, it's not just millennials. In fact, that's quite misunderstood. People my age, I'm a bit older, people my age are very much interested in purpose, real purpose, like real meaningful purpose. Like, why do we really exist on this earth?
Yeah.
What is the problem we're trying to solve? And in organizations, when everybody is on board with that purpose, that when they show up for work, they're really inspired to get that work done because they know they're making an impact toward their higher purpose. So you also work with your employees to align that higher purpose as best as you can and help support them in achieving their higher purpose.
Very cool. So, Kent, tell us individually. I know you've mentioned over a dozen companies that you've helped start or maybe on your own, but what are you spending most of your time on right now?
Well, I am spending most of my time actually on the conscious capitalism movement. My plan is to be speaking literally around the globe, and that's where I'm spending the majority of my time. I've added to our own team to give me the support that's necessary so I can be helping more entrepreneurs, CEOs, and key stakeholders, as well as entrepreneurs. Part of our role is to help organizations actually get their arms around it and begin the implementation process.
Really cool concept. Kudos to you and everyone else involved. How would somebody interested in learning more about conscious capitalism, do so on their own?
So the stories are always really powerful. You can go to consciouscapitalism.org. You can also, I've been writing quite a bit and it's being published in Forbes, Inc., EO Octane blog. I believe this week it's coming out in Dubai in a prestigious publication. I'm looking forward to that, as well as other places. So you can find those writings by following me on Twitter, Kent Gregoire, Instagram. You can also go to our website, www.symphonyadvantage.com. Oftentimes, there are things that are posted there to create the stories so people learn. That's what's most important. And maybe to go back and address how you become a conscious company is really understanding what others are doing and then to have the support to get started. But the stories are very magical.
It's nice that it seems like you're saying generations all working together. This is not about new business owners or people only with money. It's about, organically changing how people look and think about running their businesses.
Yeah, I think it's one thing I want to kind of point out because I think it kind of brings us back around. It's 7 out of 10 Americans want to see a more just society. It's a very, very strong change. Therefore, if entrepreneurs, CEOs, leaders are not leading their organization and making the strategic decision to lead with purpose, they're going to find it much more difficult because those that are going to have the comparative advantage. I don't like to just say a competitive advantage. They'll have a comparative advantage because what they're doing is they're not looking to crush somebody else, the old Goliath thinking.
Yeah.
They're looking to how do we create more value for all our stakeholders and to continuously deliver on that value. People are making a choice as to where they invest their money and where they choose to spend their dollars to buy goods and services. And they're choosing companies that are ethical and more conscious, and we're seeing those companies doing better and better.
And for me, it's not just about where those companies do business or where they have holdings or labor. It's about how the labor is treated in the areas where they are. And in a lot of places in the world, it's still really poor. So, taking a stand is important. But I also just want to reiterate on something you just said. 7 out of 10 Americans want a more just society. Um, People then kind of tend to differ on how do you bring about that change, right? I mean, we're humans, we can't agree on everything. But I think what most people can agree on is that ethical standards in businesses and trying to do the right thing can only bring about even more business and better end result for all of us. So, Kent, again, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. I know you got a lot of things you're working on and you're pretty booked for your speaking gig, so carving out the time for us, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. Fun.
Absolutely, Kent. You take care.